Dear friends, this is episode number 32. We will deal with two provisions and some connected provisions, namely section 46 and section 73 of CPC. 46 is called precept. Let us see 46. Let us read. Upon the application of the decree holder, the court which passed the decree may, whenever it thinks fit, issue a precept to any other court which would be competent to execute such decree, to attach any property belonging to the judgmentator and specified in the precept. So there must be an application by the decree holder, and the order has to be passed by the court which passed the decree and issue a precept. That precept is intended to another court. Which is that court? Court which would be competent to execute such decree. For what purpose? For the purpose of enabling the transferee court to attach the decree, attach the property belonging to the judgmentator, and specified in the precept. So along with this we have to read sections 38 and 39 and order 21 rules 5 to 8. Then only it will be complete. Order 21 rules 5 to 8, the transfer, the procedure for the same. Which we have already dealt with. Mode of transfer, procedure where the court decides its own decree shall be executed by another court. Court receiving the copies to file the same without proof, execution of the decree or order by the court to which it is sent. That is a procedure. Now, let us see section 38 and 39. 38 and 39. The courts by which the decree may be executed. This also we have dealt with already. A decree may be executed either by the court which passed it or by the court to which it is sent for execution. Court which passed it, definition of the court which passed a decree you will get in section 37. So wherever we get the expression court which passed the decree, we have to see section 37. Decree sent for execution, that is the transferee court. The court to which the decree is sent for execution, it is called the transferee court. What is the process of transfer? Why it is necessary? We have to see section 39. The court which passed the decree may, on the application of the decree holder, send it for execution to another court of competent jurisdiction. Then clause A, B, C, D. What are they? Clause A says that if the person against whom the decree is passed actually and voluntarily resides or carries on business or personally works for gain within the local jurisdiction of such other court, that is the transferring court. That is one circumstance. Or if such person has no property within the local limits of jurisdiction of the court which passed the decree, sufficient to satisfy such decree, and he has property within the local limits of jurisdiction of such other court. Such other court is transferee court. So the court which passed the decree, let us say X court, and the court to which it is sent for execution, namely the transferee court Y court. Clause A says that the judgmentator resides not within the jurisdiction of X court, but he resides or carries on business or works for gain within the jurisdiction of Y court. Clause B, the judgmentator has no property within the jurisdiction of X court, but he has property within the jurisdiction of Y court. C, if the decree directs sale or delivery of immovable property situate outside the local limits of the jurisdiction of the court which passed it, there may arise situations where a decree scheduled property may be outside the jurisdiction of the court. If delivery is to be made, then that decree will be transferred to such other court. Then D, if the court which passed the decree considers for any other reason, which it shall record in writing, that the decree should be executed by such other court. These are the 4 circumstances in which a decree may be transferred. Why all these clauses? Then subrule 2 says that the court which passed the decree may of its own motion send it for execution to a subordinate court of competent jurisdiction. That is a different thing, suo motu power. Then subrule 3 says a court shall be deemed to be a court of competent jurisdiction. That is not relevant for this purpose. Reason why such provisions are there in clause A and B is subrule 4. Nothing in this section shall be deemed to authorize the court which passed a decree to execute such decree against any person or property outside the local limits of its jurisdiction. There is a bar. A decree, see, the court which passed the decree has no power to execute such decree against any person or property outside its jurisdiction. That is why clause A and B makes provision for transfer of decrees and in the circumstances in which the decree is to be transferred. Then one may ask a question. Subsection 4 of section 39 was introduced only in 2002 amendment, by 2002 amendment. Then what was the reason? 2002 amendment by which subsection 4 was inserted was a clarificatory amendment. That was the law even before, but only because of some conflict of decisions it was thought fit that there may be an insertion of subrule 4 like that, so that the matters are clarified. So we have seen in 38 and 39, a decree can be executed by the court which passed it or to which it is sent for execution. 39.4 says that the court which passed the decree has no jurisdiction to execute the decree against a person or property outside its jurisdiction. Then 39, transfer of decree, send it for execution. These circumstances which are mentioned in clauses A to D, a transfer can be made. The procedure we have seen in rules 5 to 8 of order 21. Then also see rules 273 to 277 of the civil rules of practice. That is regarding the procedure to be followed. Now, incidentally, I may say that Salem 2 case, 2005 6 SCC 344, paragraphs 22 to 24 deal with the amendment of section 39. And it says that there is no conflict between section 39.4 and order 21 rule 48, which provides for attachment of salary where the dispersing officer or the person who receives the salary is outside the jurisdiction of that court. And the Supreme Court in Salem 2 said that this section 39(4) and Order 21 Rule 48, there is no conflict. It operates in different fields. In respect of matters for which separate provision is made, that will be applicable. Now, we come back to section 46. So, this is to facilitate attachment of property of a judgment debtor who is residing or whose property is situated within the jurisdiction of another court, that is Y court, not X court. X court is a court which passed the decree. He is not residing there. He has no property there. He is permanently residing within the jurisdiction of Y court. He has properties there. So, how to attach that property? Decree has to be transferred. The transfer has to be made in accordance with the procedure laid down in the provisions which I mentioned earlier. It takes time. If by that time the judgment debtor transfers the property, there will be nothing left. So, there is a procedure which facilitates that transferee court to attach the property immediately pending transfer of the decree. This will be done first, then the decree will be transferred later. Let us see the other sub rules. The court to which a precept is sent shall proceed to attach the property in the manner prescribed in regard to the attachment of property in execution of a decree. Same procedure. Proviso. Provided that no attachment under a precept shall continue for more than 2 months. So that is a period, 2 months. Unless the period of attachment is extended by an order of the court which passed the decree. It can be extended by X court. Or unless before the determination of such attachment, the decree has been transferred to the court by which the attachment has been made, and the decree holder has applied for an order for sale of such property. Which is that court? The transferee court, Y court. So the attachment will be for a period of, the attachment will be made by which court? Y court, transferee court. So by receiving this precept, it is a mandate. It facilitates that would-be transferee court to attach the property of the judgment debtor against whom a decree has been passed by X court, to attach the property pending transfer of decree, or for a period of 2 months, or if it is extended in the meanwhile by X court for such period, or unless till the decree has been transferred by that time, or an execution decree holder has applied for an order for sale of such property. These are the circumstances in which the attachment takes effect. This is for the immediate relief. Immediate. So that the decree holder will not, once the attachment is made, the judgment debtor cannot transfer it. It will be hit by section 64. So that it is secured to that extent. The decree holder need not be worried about it. So this procedure for transfer may take effect, may result in some lapse of time. Notice has to be given, the parties are to be heard, and then the decree has to be transferred to such other court. Then all the records are to be sent, relevant records. All those things may take some time. Meanwhile, something may happen. Therefore, by a precept is a paper by which X court, namely the court which passed the decree, will send to Y court, that is the transferee court, empowering the transferee court to attach the property of the judgment debtor against whom the transferor court has passed the decree and which decree is sought to be executed. 2 months, it can be extended, or that attachment will remain. Decree has been transferred by that time, or unless before the determination of such attachment the decree has been transferred to the court by which the attachment has been made, and the decree holder has applied for an order for sale of the property. Now, after the decree is transferred, the decree holder has to file an execution petition in the transferee court. With all the incidents of an execution petition, it must be there. In the transferor court, he must make an application for transfer, in which all the necessary ingredients which are expected to be made under Rule 11 of Order 21 must be there. So, it should not be bereft of details. The transferor court must have all the relevant details, and the transferee court also must have all the relevant details, and the procedure must be strictly followed. If so, the decree holder need not worry about a conduct which may likely to occur on the part of the judgmenter in screening of the property, dealing with the property, encumbering the property, transferring the property, pending any step that is taken in the execution, before any step is taken in the execution. This is that. So, a client approaches you, says that the decree passed against the judgmenter must be executed. He says, sir, he is residing elsewhere within the jurisdiction of another court, namely Y court. All right. Then you have to advise the party that you cannot arrest and detain him by an order passed by X court. That is the court which passed the decree. We have to get the decree transferred to that court. Or where property is to be proceeded with, that property is also within the jurisdiction of Y court. So you have to advise your client to file an application for transfer. And if you your client apprehends that in the meanwhile something may happen, you can apply for a precept under section 46, immediate relief, effective relief. All these must be applied. There are methods and methods which can be adopted before the civil court to ensure, to protect the interest of the decree holder, the judgmenter, and all concerned. There are methods and methods which can be adopted for the facilitation of what is required in the facts and circumstances of the case. Power is there for the court to do all that is required for smooth execution, smooth functioning of the court, dealing with the suit, dealing with the execution petition, dealing with appeal, and dealing with other proceedings. There is no lack of power. If there is a lack of power somewhere, it is covered by section 151, inherent power of the court, that can be exercised. That is unlike this criminal courts. There is no provision like that in CRPC except 482. That 482, that power is there only for the High Court. Wording similar to section 151. But even there the scope is different. So this is limitless power, the civil court. So it is not because of lack of facilities, because of lack of provisions, because of lack of methods, that the parties are to face the difficulties. It is because of some of the provisions are misused by some of the parties. And we have to find out ways and means to tackle that. We have to find out methods to defeat such dubious methods. There are enough provisions where your client's interest, whether he is a decree holder or judgmentor, can be protected. So do it whenever occasion arises. Now we go to section 73. That is what is called rateable distribution. Rateable distribution. In what cases it may happen? Realization of decree for payment of money. There are several decrees against the same judgmentor. All those decree holders apply for execution. Sometimes the properties belonging to the judgmentor may not be sufficient to satisfy the decrees of all those decree holders. All of them approach the court. And by sale of the property, the money comes to the court. To whom it should be paid? It should be paid to all the decree holders. Suppose it is sufficient, the total amount to be realized in execution of all the decrees is 50 lakhs and the amount fetched at the court auction sale is 60 lakhs, there is no difficulty. The full amount of the decree can be paid. Suppose the amount to be realized is 60 lakhs, but the court auction sale took place for 50 lakhs. There is a shortfall of 10 lakhs. How to adjust it? That is rateably reducing that amount from the amount payable under each decree by rateable distribution. It is not deduction of the same amount, rateably. So a person who has got a decree for 50,000 and a person who has got a decree for 1 lakh, that amount to be recovered may be different, rateably. That is a process. That is why such a provision is there, to ensure that all the decree holders, to the extent possible, get execution of their decree against the same judgmentor, that is decree for payment of money. 1. 2. Simply because one of the parties has approached the court earlier in point of time, he is not given any preference. It will be, all the decree holders will be equally treated and the assets divided. But there are certain conditions to be satisfied for distribution of the assets rateably. I think I have made the position clear. Several decrees for money by several decree holders against the same judgmentor. Then execution of it. Attachment and sale of property. What will happen? How the money is to be distributed. That is the procedure in short. But certain conditions are to be satisfied. What are the conditions? We will see. Sub-rule 1. Where assets are held by a court. That is one condition. Assets are held by court. After distribution, nothing can be done. Where assets are held by a court and more persons than one have, before receipt of such assets, made application to the court for execution of decrees for payment of money passed against the same judgmentor and have not obtained satisfaction thereof, the assets, after deducting the cost of realization, shall be rateably distributed among all such persons. What is the requirement? All those persons who want to participate in the rateable distribution must have applied to the court for execution. and such execution petitions must have been filed before assets are received by the court. And all the decrees are for payment of money. And all these decrees are against the same person. Then, provided as follows: where any property is sold subject to a mortgage or charge, the mortgagee or encumbrancer shall not be entitled to share in any surplus arising from such sale. There may be some surplus. He shall not be entitled to share it, the mortgagee or encumbrancer, but for which there is a separate provision. B. Where any property liable to be sold in execution of a decree is subject to a mortgage or charge, the court may, with the consent of the mortgagee or encumbrancer, order that the property be sold free from the mortgage or charge, giving to the mortgagee or encumbrancer the same interest in the proceeds of the sale as he had in the property sold. So the mortgagee or encumbrancer charge holder need not worry. Even if in this process of sale it is sold in court auction, the court auction purchaser takes it subject to such mortgage or charge, and it can be enforced. The mortgage decree can be enforced against that auction purchaser. So the mortgagee, the person who has got the decree, or the charge holder, need not necessarily participate in the court in the rateable distribution. He need not, because his rights are protected. This is not a simple money decree. But if the consent of the mortgagee or encumbrancer is received by the court, is obtained, then the sale can be done free of mortgage or charge. What is the purpose? If there is a mortgage or charge, that will be found in the encumbrance certificate. That has to be shown in the sale proclamation. So, in the court auction sale, a proper price may not be fetched. Who will purchase a property which is entangled in litigation? Who will purchase a property for a good price if it is subject to so many litigations? So that if the mortgagee or charge holder agrees, the property will be sold free of such mortgage or charge. And then what will happen after realization of the assets? The mortgagee or encumbrances will get the same rights which they have. That is what is clause B. Where any immobile property, C. Where any immobile property is sold in execution of a decree ordering its sale for the discharge of an encumbrance thereon, the proceeds of the sale shall be applied, first in defraying the expenses of the sale, secondly in discharging the amount due under the decree, thirdly in discharging the interest and principal monies due to the subsequent encumbrancer, if any, and fourthly rateably among the holders of the decree for payment of money against this judgmental, who have prior to the sale of the property applied to the court which passed the decree, ordering such sale for execution of such decree, and have not obtained satisfaction thereof. This is the same as the same condition as you find in sub-rule 1, in subsection 1, where several decrees, all decree for payment of money, and all those decree holders have applied for execution, and they have applied before the assets are held by the court, before the assets are received by the court. Then how to distribute the money? If there is a charge or if there is a mortgage, firstly the expenses will be deducted, defrayed from that sale proceeds. Then they discharging the amount due under the decree. Which decree? The mortgage decree or charge decree. Because he has consented to sell it free from mortgage or charge, then his money will be paid. Then the balance will be there, subsequent encumbrances. That also will be covered. Then, fourthly, so some sum will be there. Let us take it that I have got a mortgage decree against X. Several other persons, 50 persons, have obtained money decree against X. He has one item of property which is very valuable. All have applied for execution of their respective decrees. I have got mortgage right because his property is mortgaged in my favor. I can enforce it. In spite of the 50 decree holders executing their decree and a court auction taking place, I can enforce my mortgage decree against the auction purchaser in that court sale. But I can give consent. All right, you sell this property in execution of these 50 decrees for payment of money, free from encumbrances. And after getting that money, the court will, after defraying the expenses, pay my money. There will be balance. What will be that balance? The balance amount will be distributed ratably among all these 50 decree holders. That is a procedure. Where all or any of the assets liable to be ratably distributed under this section are paid to a person not entitled to receive the same. Any person so entitled may sue such person to compel him to refund the assets. Nothing in this section affects the right of government. So if a person, by rateable distribution, a person is to get 50,000, where the decree is for 1 lakh, but he has realized by methods which he has adopted, he has realized the full amount of 1 lakh. So he has to disgorge, he has to repay to the court this 50,000 as if it is ratably distributed, and that amount will be available for distribution to all others. So a person who has, sometimes it may happen by oversight, something, the amount in excess will be paid, or by a calculation mistake also it may happen. A person who has received money, he cannot be happy. He has to give back that amount. The court can, and a person who is entitled to a certain amount on rateable distribution, some other person has taken it. A suit can be filed to realize the shortfall against that person who has received something in excess. So this is the scheme of section 73. Now, there are some decisions to be noticed that I will cite in the next episode. Thank you.